Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fast Guard News. I'm Dwight Gibson,
I'm Robert Payne.
and today we want to talk to you about why your business needs security. Top 5 reasons to know that your business is at risk. So, when someone's business is at risk, well, risk can mean several things. So, what do you mean when you say your business is at risk?
Well, I'm talking about all the problems that people experience at businesses that Fast Guard can solve. Theft, vandalism, unwanted guests, people coming camping out on your site. Just all of those things, all of the reasons that people call Fast Guard to try to solve those problems. And part of the issue is that people don't understand, many business owners don't understand. They go off the rule of, we've been running this business for the last 10 years and nothing's ever happened. And it's like, you're only setting yourself up for more liability by even saying that, number one. And then from a customer standpoint, like, if you invite people to patronize your business, which is most businesses, with a storefront or whatever, restaurants, hotels, if people are allowed to come in your structure and consume anything, come and stay, come and visit, then you're at risk at all times if you don't have some type of security presence. That's step one. So that's like almost every business that has inbound customers. Step two, if nothing's ever happened, that's only high. It's like rolling the dice. Eventually you're gonna crap out. So there's nobody ever been on the table forever. I think we would have heard of that would have been part of American history. And like we sit down and try to examine what it is that we really offer. We offer peace of mind, but also when it comes down to liability, the theft, only way you're gonna counteract theft is by having somebody actively seeking and removing that element. If you don't have it, like a lot of times we get called for loss prevention, and you'll see the guys walking around the street clothes or whatever, but they got the loss prevention badge, and that lowers theft because thieves communicate. It's a network. Right. And so if you have a business where you got like retail, part of that stop loss that they want to try to create is first you need to have somebody in there doing loss prevention, trying to keep them out. The rules for loss prevention have changed dramatically. Like at one point, loss prevention could take you down like a police officer. In some states, they still allow it, but for the most part, that loss prevention security is really just eyes and ears, and they'll come and stop the person once they leave. But now with concealed weapons in most states, like you're almost asking for trouble. You don't know what a person has: a knife, a needle, a gun, and you're there as expert eyes and ears. You get the tag number, whatever the case, get the description, and you do your reports. But as far as like grabbing people and taking people down, if you can get people in cuffs with just verbals, then that's great. But like in California, it was running rampant for a little while. They had that I forgot that act or law, whatever it was, that allowed people under a certain amount. So if you come in and you steal under a certain amount, it's not considered like a arrestable offense. So that's why you had those flash mobs.
Of course, it's in California.
Yeah. And I love California. But that law really set things on fire. So when you're allowing people into your structure, you face liability to stop any type of theft or vandalism. Sometimes people just want to get in and clog the toilets. I've seen that several times in major stores.
So, are there any businesses that don't have a high need for security?
I don't think there's any, like, we do fireworks stands where, like the major firework distributor, you can name them throughout the country, and they tell us that people try to have like some fantasy to go in the bathroom to do, in the bathroom. And it's like, who even does that on a site? But at the same time, you have to understand that with no security, people feel like they're gonna go somewhere, and I never understood that. Like in a fireworks stand, why would you want to go in there and do that? The bathrooms are grimy usually, it's like a warehouse. But people find the will and the way because they don't have security, and by the time we get caught, we'll all be out of the store, they're just gonna look at cameras, whatever. But it's like a risk thing that they do, or like an adrenaline rush that they get from it. You have some people that steal to eat, literally. Like, there's people that we've stopped that start eating the sandwich. Like, hey, I'm going to jail, but I'm going to jail full. There's other people that just steal just cause. Like, there's a lot of people with a lot of money. You'll catch a guy in the store with a Rolex on, stealing something just to see if you can beat the system. So you got all of those things going on. That having somebody there watching eyes and ears in uniform or plain clothes is a deterrent. Once you see one person get popped, you're like, man, I ain't doing that. I was in the supermarket the other day, and I'm sitting waiting, and I see everybody start running towards the front. I said, hey, what's going on? Somebody started shooting or somebody had a gun? She was like, no, a guy picked up his whole buggy, got up to the front, picked up his whole buggy, ran out the store, had a car waiting, dumped the buggy in the trunk, drove to the edge of the parking lot, emptied the contents of the buggy, and then threw the buggy back in the parking lot, closed the trunk, and left.
Supermarket sweep.
A supermarket sweep. And I thought that show was canceled. But they left the house that morning and chose violence. I want you to think about that.
Did they get caught?
No, well, the police didn't even come. I was there in line for like another 8 minutes, and I didn't see any police presence whatsoever.
Yeah.
Things went back to normal.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Well, you know, grocery stores operate on a very small profit margin too. So.
Yeah. Man, when you see what happened with the stock market with eggs, where you know eggs shot up to $30 a dozen, it was crazy a few months ago.
$30 a dozen.
30 to $26 in some of these stores. So you look at that and just understand that like these things have a value, and then it's the what comes with the theft. You might get some guy that wants to be a hero. He has a concealed weapon. He doesn't see any security around, so you know he's going to be the vigilante or the good Samaritan to stop the thief. And this guy pulls out his gun, shoots, misses, hurts somebody, or he pulls out a gun that forces now the criminal pull out a gun, and then they get into a gunfight, and you're in there with your kids trying to buy some watermelon. You know, it's craziness. So it's better to have that person that's designated. I say this all the time, even on the flights we were talking about having guards on flights. Like, yeah, reality, you probably should. There's no scenario that I can think of that wouldn't be better with some type of security or some type of designated person.
Let's talk about businesses that people normally patronize that may not have security. Some places probably do. One that comes to mind is movie theaters.
Correct.
So I can't remember the last time I've been to a theater and they had security. And I go to the theater quite a bit.
Think about during the Batman premiere, and right now during what is it called? Minecraft. They had.
Oh yeah, they trashing the theater.
The theater. So when we walked in, we were in Canada. We walked in the theater, and people were like, "Hey, if you guys start trashing the theater, we're gonna kick you out, kids and all." I was like, "People are really doing that?" She was like, "Yeah, it's like a thing that started in Australia. They're doing it everywhere." And then Minecraft came back and said, "You know what? It adds to the whole fame of the movie. Yeah, you can come in, we'll give you stuff that you can trash it with. Don't do it with sodas and stuff. We'll give you like confetti," and they were giving people stuff to do it with. So they have to have security there. They got to get those things under control. Imagine if you're in a theater. Remember what happened in Colorado?
Yeah.
Guy came to the Batman premiere and chose violence and wanted active shooter situation in a dark room where everybody's in cosplay costumes. And so that's a nightmare. You're in there with your family, you hear shots, it's loud, and probably blew some people's eardrums, and you can't get out. It's one way in, one way out, or 2 ways in, 2 ways out. It's crazy.
What else? Restaurants.
You're in a restaurant, so you don't really see it a whole lot, but more and more you start seeing people call for it. A woman or a man is in there with somebody that's not their wife or a husband. The husband or the wife comes and they choose violence, and they're gonna hurt somebody in there.
And there's nobody there.
And who's gonna mitigate that situation? People get too drunk at the bar. They serve alcohol and food. Some people cannot handle their liquor. They get too drunk. Who's gonna handle that? A gunman says, you know, hey, this is a store. They got a bunch of cash. This is a restaurant. They got a bunch of cash. Waiters get paid off tips. There's money in the building. I'm coming to rob everybody in there. Who's going to even step up? By the time somebody calls the police, you know, bad things can happen. So you should have security there. Trampoline parks.
Well, most trampoline parks do have security.
They do, but there's the reluctant few that say, you know what, we don't need that. And then something happens, and then you know the lawsuit. What a lot of people don't realize about some places, and trampoline parks have been the smartest. They make you sign a contract when you come in there, and it says that you forgo any type of injury that happens in there, any active violence or whatever, and you sign away all your rights to that, to no trial or no lawsuit. If your kid goes in there and breaks his neck because somebody body slammed him, nothing. So That's one place that's kind of taboo, but yeah, they do use security.
Yeah. Well, what about situations where a company, an office environment, where they're typically doing computer work, there's not really visitors coming per se, other than maybe a Uber or DoorDash to deliver someone's lunch?
Well, they need security for 3 reasons. One, we had a few of those that used security at their call centers or at their video centers or whatever, and then we use it to let the ladies feel safe that worked overnight, walking them to the car. They also use it as a deterrent to keep people from coming up in there acting crazy, and also a lot of these places have high turnover, and so they fire quite a few people. Sometimes people get pissed off when they get fired. Security guards also there to walk them out of the building, and hey, you have a good day.
For like employee termination.
Employee termination, so it serves a kind of double.
So what about companies that they're not open overnight, so there's no need for walking people to their car at night.
Think about hotels.
There's certain access to where you have to get in. So if someone orders Uber or whatever, they have to physically go down and get it. The employee termination part, what about companies? So you think it's a good idea for companies to contract with someone ahead of time?
Yeah.
So in the event that, John and Susie say they're going to come back and shoot everybody, they don't have to scramble to say, we got to find a security company. They already have that.
Correct. You should set up. You should, just like on the fire alarm panels or where the extinguisher is, break in case of emergency. You should have an emergency book for termination in your HR department, or if you don't have one, and the general manager's doing all that shit, they should have to go to the playbook, and you should have an emergency security company like FastGuard in that playbook to call in your times of need when you need somebody there last minute. A lot of times, money's not an issue. You think about protection of the property and the people.
Right.
And yeah, you should have a playbook or a go-to book, code red, this is what you do. Yeah.
Now you mentioned hotels. What were you going to say about hotels?
What I was going to say is, think about what goes on in hotels. That's like a living, breathing organism. People from all walks of life. There's one guy on the internet that cooks. He cooks his meals inside
in hotel rooms.
In hotel rooms,
in the bathroom. Yeah.
So there's all kind of stuff, all kind of reasons that you might want to kick somebody out of a hotel. But the major reasons: melee fights. You can't control what a person's bringing in there.
Don't most hotels have security?
They do, but the smaller brands, the ones where it might be only say 60 doors, they might not feel the need. They put an attendant in there, and they feel that the attendants and the housekeeping crew can handle whatever. But yeah, things do happen. It also matters with the police response time. If you're in a major city, then like Miami, New York, LA, call hold times. If it's not somebody getting shot, active shooter, it might be 30 minutes to an hour. Just Dallas, Houston, all of them. So you're not going to get help like that, like you think. So if you run a hotel, you can pack it into the room price. You can pack it into the prices for banquets. Whatever the case, you do need somebody there besides the tenant that's paying attention to the security of the whole location.
What do you say to those smaller companies that say they can't afford security?
Well, we can make an affordable option. Security is like this. If you have a budget, right, as a customer, if you're coming in and you're an ABC customer, and you said that, I want to have security realistically, I got $40,000 to pay for the year for security, but I need security here all night. We'll figure out a package that works for you in those situations. You have to be realistic. So what we're going to try to do is keep you realistic to what you're going to pay. So you get what you pay for. And hiring cheap guards, can put you in a situation. So what's really the cost of security? And that's what we try to put people in the reality realm, because some people call and say, I thought I was going to pay $5 an hour. It's like, come on, man. That's below federal minimum wage. Like, you're not going to get any more.
Or really, what's the cost of not having security?
Correct. And they have to understand that portion is like you can lose everything just by, a simple bill. You pay your light bill, you pay your cable bill, you pay for insurance, this is just another layer on top of that liability that, hey, we took the proper steps, because all lawsuits come from inadequate security. Did you have security? Did you have a plan in place? Inadequate security. Think about, like I said, in a hotel, they tried to have, you know, one level of security because you can't get in without a card in most of the smaller branches. But at the same time, somebody can slip in there with somebody else, and now they're in there. You got all families, babies, women, grandmas. You got everybody, all walks of life in there, and you have nobody to protect them besides an agent that works overnight that's probably half asleep. That's not a smart plan. You just look at it. Pharmacies, drugstores. The guy came in Cali, shot the lady, killed the lady in the drugstore. It's like, you can't plan for that. And like I said, when I go into like a drugstore or a Walgreens or you know, I walk in and usually the people are stocking overnight. They're filling up shelves. I have to call them, hey, listen, I got my items. Could you come up front and check me out? They're not even paying attention to the customer because the store basically runs itself. So having that extra set of eyes and ears up, there could be a small price that actually saves a life. It preserves life. People go say they're gonna go somewhere without it. Gas stations, in some cases, have figured out, okay, let me put the glass. But what they didn't factor in is, yeah, your employee is safe, which may be your fiduciary responsibility, but now you got to think about the rest of that responsibility where you're inviting people to use your gas pumps. And if people get in a fight at the gas pump, start shooting, the tenant ain't gonna get hurt. But these two people out there, they got into an altercation because there's no sense of security, no sense of anybody stopping. It can happen, especially ones, I would say gas station with more than 10 pumps, like the big ones, the Wawas. They got security. There's security outside of Wawa because think of how many people that is. Like they got, you know, 30, 40, 50 pumps, whatever they got. They got food. So it's a restaurant, it's a gas station, it's a convenience store. They get all the traffic and people are there for long amounts of time, and it's like a pop culture thing. So kids are in there, but you know, it creates a recipe for disaster because who hangs out at gas stations? Homeless people, people that are trying to scam people. We were at the gas station the other day and some guy pulled up, and they've been pulling this scam for a long time. And I don't know if anybody else put it on the internet, but I want to put it on the internet. There's some guys, there's always two guys in a pickup truck. Two white guys, two black guys, they're always in a pickup truck. Newer model pickup truck, probably a rental. They always say that, man, we got these sound bars that usually go for $8,000. We'll let you get it for $700 today. This is the last one left. It's the same thing, and it's the same cheap ass. I got swindled one day. It's the same cheap ass bar set you get from like China for like $10. It's the sound bar and two little speakers. It's the real stuff. But it's a super cheap thing, and they're bumping them for $700. They tried to pull up on me the other day. They was like, "Hey, look down the window. I seen the boxes in the back." But you can't stop that from happening. Imagine these people walk up on you, you don't want to talk. Then you're there with your kids, you feel kind of vulnerable. And these individuals are harassing you. That like the gas station don't want them in the gas station parking lot selling items. So all of these things where, you know, security cameras are great, they're reactive. We're talking about somebody's going to be proactive, that's going to keep people safe, because when people see that they come there and the guard is part of that crew, and he's not there to joke around, he's there to keep people safe, and you need to do what you need to do and get out of there. I'm fine. In my bank, I go to the bank, go to the credit union, they got a police officer and they're sitting on a chair. He's most of the time on the phone, but it's a police officer, not a bank teller. Because they know that people will come rob this place. So same thing with armed security. When I walk into the other branches, armed security, come to eat, walking around at the front door, watching, looking, in uniform. That, if you're a robber, you know that, hey, I'm going to come in, I'm going to face some type of reaction. They want to go where there's going to be no reaction. Schools. Go to a school, you see they got a police department outside or a bunch of armed guards that look like they can do 20 push-ups at a time. Man, hey, let's go down. We're gonna cause trouble at the other spot because it's a great deterrent. Nobody, no criminals gonna go there. They're opportunists. They're not commandos. Right. So,
well, if your business needs to hire security, you should hire security. Give us a call, 844-254-8273. You can also reach us online at www.fastguardservice.com. Thank you, guys. We hope to hear from you soon. Have a great day.